Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today we're taking a look at Frostgrave 2nd Edition Blood Legacy, one of the latest expansions for Frostgrave, which of course is the hit fantasy skirmish game from Osprey Games, and which they kindly sent along as a complimentary advanced review copy. So what is in here? Well, all kinds of new stuff. First and foremost, vampires and giants, because why not? The whole sort of theme here is not quite being human and having that affect you in game. Rules for playing vampires: you can create a vampire as your wizard, you could become a vampire through like a narrative event in a game, and they have their own specialist spells as well. And then giants, frost and fire giants, you can create a fire giant wizard and fire giant spells. And then new soldiers, you have the blood merchant, the swordsman, a vampire hunter, of course, because if you can't have vampires, then you want to have a vampire hunter. And giant blooded soldiers, so like half giants, which are basically a add-on class to all of your soldiers. So there's a new specialist soldier like list where you've got, you know, just extra large soldiers. And even some new miniatures. I've got a wonderful thug, or I don't even know what you'd call him, maybe a knight, giant blooded soldier here from North Star. And some noble vampires as well that I'll probably add to Killian Dark's Caleb Dark and Killian's warband. Maybe they descended into vampires, and they were necromancers after all, so bad things can happen. And then rules for high-level wizards. We've got 2 campaigns, the Eventide Manor and the Caves of Finn, new treasures, and a bestiary for all of the cool new stuff. So in this one, Joe basically talks about where he wants to take the storyline. He's written books that are based on different kinds of adventures, like the Breeding Pits with demons and demon summoning, and solo play for Perilous Dark, and even written some long campaigns. Blood Legacy was basically the thing he wrote during lockdown, and it added a bunch of flavor to existing warbands, and also kind of takes the game forward with the high-level wizards. So of course, vampires are slightly different, and therefore have slightly different schools of spells. You are automatically going to be enrolled in the School of Vampirism, and so your aligned spells are Chronomancer, Necromancer, and Soothsayer. Your neutral ones are Elementalist, Enchanter, Illusionist, Sigilist, Summoner, and Witch, and then your opposite one is Thaumaturge, so no having Healy vampires. They have the following special rules. They gain experience, but every level costs 120 instead of 100. And they're still subject to the maximum of 300 experience points per game, which means you're only ever gaining 2 levels per game with them. They can't increase their will stat past +5. Their maximum health increases to 22, although that goes up again in the high-level wizards thing. They can never learn or cast Transcendence, so obviously they never transcend into the higher plane. They may never benefit from Heal or Miraculous Cure because they're dead. They may not drink healing potions because they're dead. Their healing potions are blood. And vampires casting Animal Companion receive undead versions of the animals with identical stats. They can never have Rangifers in their warband because they hate them. And if a vampire damages a giant in hand-to-hand combat, they regain lost points of health equal to the damage inflicted up to the starting health. They also have unnatural health and sun damage. So if vampire is reduced to 0 health during a game, your roll for survival is normal. However, vampires have no natural healing mechanism, so do not automatically restore to full health after each game. Instead, they can only heal through ingesting fresh blood from a sentient creature. To represent this, a vampire must pay 5 gold after each game for a health point they want to regain. If a vampire has been reduced to 0 health, therefore, it cannot pay at least 5 gold, it's dead on the survival table. Alternatively, a vampire can consume the blood of one of their permanent warband members, though not in dead constructs or demons, and in this case, remove the soldier from the roster. The soldier's place in the warband may not be filled until after the next game. So basically, reduce your number of soldiers down to 8 instead of 9. And then sun damage. Vampires suffer horrific damage if they spend more than a short time in the sun. Whilst they have a hugely limiting factor in their lives, it doesn't overly become relevant during the day. If playing a game with a vampire, it's generally safe to assume it's happening at night when there's no direct sunlight. If, for the purpose of a scenario or a campaign, a vampire is caught outside during sunlight, it causes a point of damage every time it activates, unless it has cover from the sun, like terrain over its head. So, I like the unnatural health thing. Basically, it means that you can't just have a free thug die every game and just warband members go disappearing. When that happens, it freaks the warband out. You don't get another free guy for the course of that turn. They also have the following traits. They're undead, immune to control undead, magic attacks, mind lock, thaumaturgic vulnerability, true sight, and partial immunity to normal damage. You can become a vampire through various effects, and then you have special spells, your own sort of like vampiric lore, like animal form, you can turn into an animal, Call Blood Drinker Bat. A vampire immediately places a Blood Drinker Bat adjacent to the table edge. It's a creature from later on. Ghoul Call. You can summon a ghoul. Hypnotic Gaze. Select a target figure. That figure must make a will roll. If it's failed, the target suffers the effects of a mind control spell. However, the spell is immediately canceled if the target is ever at a line of sight or more than 12 away. Life Drain. Basically, it's your best way of getting damage back. Mist Form, where you can walk through walls. Psychic Leech. This spell may only be cast on an undead creature with a will stat of +2 or less that is not under control of another spellcaster. If this creature is controlled by another caster, the spell is canceled. However, whenever the target of the spell causes damage to a creature that is not undead, construct, or demon, the caster of this spell regains a point of health. So your minions wander off and get your health back for you. And then Thraldom, it's out of game. The vampire can add one soldier of any type to their warband as a permanent member without paying its cost. The soldier suffers a permanent -1 will, and if it's ever reduced to 0 health, on a 1 to 10, the soldier has either died or escaped the vampire's control, and 11 plus, it recovers and continues to be part of the warband. So you basically can summon a free, like, high-level, like, knight or something like that every game. And then Giants. So Frost Giants and Fire Giants. The Frost Giants are, of course, a bit smaller than the Fire Giants, for like 12 to 16 feet tall, and therefore have giant miniatures. The core stats for them: move 6, fight +4, shoot 0, armor 14, will +4, and 22 health. Have the same item slots as wizards, except armor and shields, which inhibit their magic. However, when it comes to magical treasure, they are... there's some differences. Fire Giants can use grimoires in the normal way, except for those containing chronomancy or the right scroll spell, which they cannot use but can sell. And Fire Giants have never learned the secrets of making or using scrolls. They can never use a scroll, but they can sell them. And when a Fire Giant finds a magic weapon, they roll a die. On a 16 plus, the weapon's a size that's usable to the giant. Otherwise, it's too small, and it can be given to someone else, either sold or stored in the vault. Most potions are sized for humans, and thus don't contain enough elixir to affect a Fire Giant. And then apprentices. Fire Giant wizards do not have apprentices. Within a given kingdom, all wizards are expected to teach magic to the next generation, but rarely form any kind of special bond with a student. And then you can... all Fire Giants have the Fire Giant as their school of magic, and then aligned is Enchanter, Elementalist, and Soothsayer. Neutral is Illusionist, Necromancer, Sigilist, Summoner, Thaumaturge, and Witch, and then Antithetical is Chronomancer. And they are large, strong, and elemental resistance 2. So they shrug 2 damage from Elemental Blast. And then special rules: Fire Giants still gain experience, but it costs 200 points per level. However, they have a maximum of 400 experience points per game. The maximum health stat is increased to 30. Fire Giants can never write or cast the Chronomancer Write Scroll. Can't use scrolls. They're subject to the maximum armor rule, so it's always going to be 14. And due to their elemental resistance, Fire Giants have greater difficulty empowering spells or will rolls to resist spells. When empowering a Fire Giant, must spend 2 points of health for every 1 point to increase the roll. But I mean, you have 22 health, so that's pretty cool. You can call down Comets. It's a +3 elemental shooting attack with +4 damage. Earthquake. Large creatures get a +2 to the roll. You have to make them roll TN 20. If the figure fails, it's knocked prone, and your -2 fight, shoot, and -2 to all casting rolls until you make a move action to stand up. And then in Flame, you get a weapon to burst into flame for +2 damage, and is considered magic. Mist Shroud, you basically have a mist around you, and this fighter and any figures within 3 suffer no penalties for being large when being shot at. Magnify, cast on a magical weapon or magical armor or potion. In the case of magical weapon or armor, the giant can change the size of the weapon to be usable by a giant, and the potion is doubled so that it becomes a giant-sized potion. Pyre, it's basically a firewall. Raise, you can destroy a piece of terrain, and it blows up and hurts people. And a runic stone, it's kind of like the rune that you can drop, elemental rune. And then your new soldiers, Blood Merchants. These unsavory characters are sometimes found in vampire warbands, where they will use their special skill to harvest blood. They start the game with a vial of blood. If the Blood Merchant is within one of a vampire, and there's no enemy figures within one of either figure, then the Blood Merchant can spend an action to give the vial of blood to the vampire. The vampire immediately regains 5 points of lost health. They're standard soldiers and cost 75 to hire. And yeah, they have vial of blood and harvest blood. Harvest blood is a skill where they can, you take the blood out of the dead body and or ground and give it to people. Refill their blood vial. The Swordmaster, it's like an Inigo Montoya type. They're a specialist with 120 gold crowns to hire. Fight plus 4, armor 11, will plus 1, health 12, and 125 to higher. Hand weapon, dagger, light armor, supporting figure maximum, opponent armor reduction. So they reduce the, their skills basically, they reduce the abilities of, where is that? Opponent armor reduction. It's in here. If this figure wins around a combat versus a figure wearing light or heavy armor, its opponent suffers -1 of the armor roll. And then supporting figure maximum, this figure is used to fighting multiple figures at the same time. No figure can claim more than a +2 for supporting figures, which is amazing. Vampire Hunter, fight plus 3, shoot plus 2, armor 11, 2 will, 12 health, 125, hand weapon, crossbow, quiver, light armor, magic attacks, undead. Hunter's will against vampires, and immune to energy drain. Hunter's will, I think, is whenever the specific creature X is on the table, you get +1 on all will rolls. And then magic attacks, always against undead. All of his attacks are considered to be magical. And then Giant Blooded Soldiers, basically, you cost an extra 50 gold crowns, you get -2 will and -1 move, but you're +2 health, and you become Giant Blooded and large. Only the soldier type found in the main rulebook can be recruited as Giant Blooded. Soldiers found here gain the Giant Blooded skill. And Giant Blooded, you do +1 damage in melee on top of any other bonuses. The figure also gains +4 to all fight stat rolls. Those are the target number, and it does not apply to any combat rolls. This trait also includes the large trait, though it should be listed separately for ease of recollection. So basically, you get a built-in +1 melee damage, so your thugs can get it, your thieves, infantrymen, men-at-arms, and apothecaries can all be giant-blooded. And then, yeah, you have a high-level wizard set of rules, which is cool because basically once you get to a certain point value, so you can also have archers, crossbows, treasure hunters, trackers, knights, templars, rangers, barbarians, and marksmen. So like a barbarian ranger is, or a giant-blooded barbarian is +4. He's got 16 health, he's 175 gold crowns, and he's got a 200 weapon, he does +2 damage. So anyway, the high-level wizards, basically, the idea here is that once you get to a certain level, you're kind of held back by certain things, like your warband even. So over level 20, you get 5 specialists, 6 at 40, 7 at 60, and at 80 you get 8. You get more item slots, you get your first one at level 30, and another every 10 levels. And you can never gain more than 2 additional slots. Sorry, 1 at level 30, 1 at level 70. And then increased maximum health. So basically, you have a maximum health of 20 at level 9, 21 at 19, 22 at 29, it's like 20 to 29, and it goes up to 30 at level 100. And then lower casting number minimum. Wizards who reach level 100 are truly masters of magic and have much deeper understanding of the flow of mystic energy. As such, the wizards can decrease the casting numbers of their spells to 4, as opposed to minimum 5. Wizards must still spend levels to decrease their casting numbers, following the normal rules. And then you can spend experience on other things than levels, which is cool. So 100, you can basically add experience for gold as a 1-to-1. For spell components, every component costs 20 experience points and gives +1 to the casting and out-of-game spell. Experience for potion ingredients on a 2-for-1 ratio. And then experience for new apprentice and experience for black market contacts to get magic items. Which is handy because sometimes you're just cash starved, and even though you have a full warband, you need certain things. I love being able to trade in your odd experience because sometimes you'll wrap a mission and just have leftovers. And then 2 missions, the Eventide Manor campaign. Of course, this is a vampire hunt with vampires involved as well. You can have vampires as your warband. And the Caves of Findalca. And this 3-scenario campaign is for higher level wizards. This is a very challenging one. It has 2 giant hearthguards, 2 pylons of runic stones, and mistwalkers. There are some terrifying things in this mission, but the idea here is that you are playing as a high level character. Collapsing caverns. And then new treasure, because I'm not going to ruin it, but there's all kinds of fun new stuff in here, from a balancing staff, so you're +8 to all your move rolls, a dancing dagger with +1 damage, and can be carried by a soldier that does not carry a dagger as part of their equipment, a devouring skull ring. A figure wearing this suffers no damage when they successfully cast the Spell Eater spell. A living quill, magical dog whistle, love that one. An apprentice or wizard who carries this whistle may activate 1 warhound or wolf that's part of their warband, even if they're not within 3, but within 12 instead. There's the rings, shielding pendants. A spellcaster may cast elemental shield on a figure wearing the pendant, even though they're not. It's normally self only. I like that one. And a two-headed wand. This strange forked magic wand allows a figure to cast the transpose spell on two figures that are within line of sight of the caster and 16 of one another. And then the bestiary gets some crazy blood drinker bats. The burning skeleton. This was from the alchemical expansion. A fire giant ruler. So this is the king of the fire giants at fight +7, armor 15, 28 health, elemental resistance 2, large magic attack, might lock, strong, and true sight. That's for the high level wizards only. Hearthguard, militia, frost giants and frost wraiths. Kalshak the vampire spellcaster. So the special super character for the Manor campaign, and a leech wolf. Lord Dante is also a vampire. Mistwalkers and specters. Svelin the fire giant wizard, troll giants, zombified trolls, and then we already went through all the new attributes. And cards for all your new spells. And so there you go. Blood Legacy. New rules for having your sort of arcane and esoteric ancestry affect the game. And a fun little set of campaigns as well, and some stuff for higher level wizards. With Frostgrave having been out for so long, I feel like it was time to kind of have the cap lifted off things like health. I love the variations for the spending your odd experience on things like extra gold, or ingredients for spells, or bonuses out of game spells. All that little tweaky stuff, I feel. It's funny because when he did 2nd edition, a lot of the stuff through the first supplement publications kind of got rounded into the core game. And I feel like these are some great ideas for maybe a 3rd edition of Frostgrave. And also, of course, some fun new narratives to play through. So anyway, there it is, 2nd edition Blood Legacy from Frostgrave. Some cool new minis out from North Stars as well for it. I'm stoked to paint these noble vampires for my Necromancer warband. And the giant-blooded, I guess he's a thug, maybe a barbarian. Very cool miniature. I'm excited to paint both these, actually. They're very nice. I'm going to put them on the round plastic bases, though, that the rest of my Frostgrave stuff's on, probably. So there it is. Big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. It's on Ash. Hey there, I hope you enjoyed that video. There are tons of other games already recorded for you to watch. Click over to my channel page if you haven't already, and have a look through the dozens of playlists full of videos. I guarantee you'll discover a game you haven't seen played before. I put out new videos 7 days a week, and every day is themed to a different genre as I continue to explore the wider world of gaming. Of course, none of that's possible without you, the viewer, so click a like and subscribe if you'd like to stay on top of what's happening here daily. My 2 kids and I are massively grateful to be able to have the flexibility of this job so I can always maximize my time with them. If you want to support me continuing to put out this content, it's only possible because of my amazing backers on Patreon who support the studio, equipment, and model cost, as well as being how I make the bulk of my living. You can also help out by buying a t-shirt through Spreadshirt, a measuring gauge or widget from Death Ray Designs, or buying one of my games and supplements like Last Days, Gamma Wolves, and Blaster. As a way of showing my appreciation, patrons get early access to new games and supplements that I write throughout the course of the year. Huge thanks for watching, it really does help out, and happy gaming.